Hello guys, welcome to my second YouTube video on my channel Coding Intelligence, where we will be discussing on the topic, on the question jumping on the clouds. So let's begin. So the problem statement here states that there is a mobile game that starts with consecutive numbered clouds. So I won't go in much into details. I would just give you the introduction, kind of an concept that this question wants us to understand. Is that there are two kind of clouds. One is cumulus and one is thunderhead, right? So this cumulus cloud is being denoted by 0 and thunderheads are being denoted by the number 1. So there is an array that will be given to you and which will consist of 0 and 1, and you need to jump from 0 to 0, that is from cumulus to cumulus, and you need to avoid thunderheads, right? So what you need to avoid is thunderheads, and you need to find out the minimum uh, number of jumps you had made. Now, talking about jumps, there are two kind of jumps that you need to do. One is you'll be taking two steps jump, and another is you'll be taking a single step jump. Okay, so now what happens is, suppose you are in a cumulus cloud 0 and you need to make a 2 jump. So when you're making that 2 jump, I mean when you're adding 2 to the index number, if after adding 2 to the index number, if that array value is 1 in case, okay, so what you will be doing is you won't be jumping it two steps, you'll be jumping it only one step. Okay, now from that one step again you'll be like wanting to jump two steps or one step depending upon the value that is contained in on that particular index. Like if you want to jump two steps, whether it is cumulus or whether it is a thunderhead, it's on the data, and if you get a thunderhead you need to avoid, if you get a cumulus you need to carry on, and like that you need to keep jumping, and the shortest jump that is being taken will be considered. We need to get that output of that shortest jump, right? So this is it. This is the question. So like the example is given here, you all can read the example. A function description, which we don't need because we will be only coding it in int main, right? And then is the returns, which we don't need because we will be doing it in int main, so we'll be returning 0. And then the input is we need an input, there is an integer n, and then the array, okay, constraints, which is very important, okay, which is very important, yes. And after that we'll be getting output format. This is the sample input. You all can go through the sample input if you want, if you didn't understand the question, or and there is an explanation given to it. If you all want, you all can see it, and if you all have understood, well and good. If you all have not, read it twice or thrice. Okay, you'll be able to understand. You'll be understanding it. So there are like two sample inputs, I guess. Yeah. So what I'll be doing, I'll be like erasing the entire thing that is present in my. Sorry for the delay. I just did this question and I got it right, so I just have it in here, which for some reason is being delayed. I don't know why. Okay, so int main. Okay, so how we'll be doing this question is we'll be the main function int main. Now the inputs that we are taking is int n. We are taking an array. It's arr. The constraints were 100, I guess. Yes, yes, yes. Or else you'll be getting a segmentation fault if that's less. Now we'll be having a jump variable where we'll be counting the number of jumps it made, and we'll be taking the minimum out of it. So we'll be taking a variable named min, and okay, we'll initialize ing as well. We don't need it, but I still let's initialize it. I'll be initializing it with 0 and this also with 0, and here we go. So now we'll be taking in as an n as an input. Okay, so this is it. Now, since I want to save some time, so I'll be doing it in while, like while I is less than n, we'll take cn. Sorry guys, cn erri. Okay, so we'll be getting this entire array, which will be which will come as an input to us, I plus plus. Now the main logical part. So what we are doing is while I is less than n minus 1. Why minus 1? I'll clear it out a bit later, okay? It's minus 1. Because, okay, if you don't get it, see, when suppose you're in the second last uh, index number, okay, now you need to make a jump. So you're making a jump, like two jumps, okay. So there is a, you don't have any value or index number to it because your array is limited. Okay, your array is limited. You cannot jump plus 2. So because you don't want to jump plus 2 and you don't want the loop to continue further, you can do it in minus 1, because then how it'll be, it'll stop executing, it'll stop looping itself, okay, and it'll come out. So it's n minus 1, and then we'll be taking the condition that if the array index, that is from I, which is 0, okay, I'll do it here. I'll take I equals to 0 in case it doesn't takes. If array I is equals to 0, that is if it's cumulus. After that, if arr i's value, that is zero's value, I mean index zero's value, if that is equal to arr I plus 2, if this is what's happening, if I plus 2 is also equals to 0, if that is arr i's value is also equals to 0 and arr I plus 2's value is also equals to 0, then what we'll be doing is we'll take it further to the jump. Okay, will jump, that is we'll jump to two steps, that is jump equals to jump plus 2. Okay, and we'll be setting the minimum, that is the minimum number of jump that we are doing in this first time that it's jumping is 1, so it's 1, sorry, minimum plus plus. Okay, now what happens, that as I said, what happens like if you're jumping from index 0 to index 2 and you see that in index 2 there is a 1 sitting over there, there's a thunderhead over there. So what you'll be doing, you won't be taking the 2-step jump, you'll be taking a 1-step jump, right? So when you'll be taking the 1-step jump, you need to take a condition out of it, that is if this doesn't happens, then what? Then else, that's the else part. Now else, okay, now in else also you'll be having a condition, else maybe you'll be having this condition of else if arr I is equals to arr I plus 1. Okay, what if your second jump is also 1 and your first jump is also 1? Now that doesn't happen because in the question it is said, like in the description it was given this, that it is always possible to win the game. So when it is possible to win the game, when you do not have consecutive thunderheads, when you do not have consecutive thunderheads is when you will be winning the game always. And if you have consecutive thunderheads, that means it's a loss. Okay, you are losing the game, you lost the game, anything it is. So this is how it's working. So I'm giving a condition that if this is equals to this, that is I plus 1, if it is equals to 1 jump, that is if you're getting a cumulus also in I plus 1 as well as a cumulus in I. Now that now what happens after this is we'll be taking a jump, we'll be taking 1-step jump, so that is jump equals to jump plus 1, or we could have done jump plus plus, also the same thing. and we'll be again setting the minimum. Okay. Now, when you have already made a jump from I to I plus 2, or maybe you have made a jump from I to I plus 1, your ith value, your ith value will get change to this jumps value, will be replaced by the jumps value, okay, because that's where you are standing now, and then again you have to jump, okay, so that is where you will be replacing your value. So jumps value will be in i's as an i's value, so i's value will be replaced by the jumps value. So how we'll be doing this? This is the else condition, here it ends. Okay, so here I'll be doing I equals to I plus, okay, so I is, if you're in 1, if you're making 2 jumps, that means you'll be in 3. So I plus equals to jump, okay, and again we'll be taking jump, we'll be making, we'll be setting it back to 0 because we don't want additional counts. That'll give us an error. And after this, what we'll be doing is, suppose, now what happens, suppose like the first array that you are in, okay, it's array I equals to 0. What if the first array is not cumulus and it's a thunderhead? So you cannot be standing there, you cannot stand on the thunderhead. What if that happens? Okay, maybe that is not in the test cases, okay, that is not mentioned in the test case, or it is not possible maybe, but what if it is possible there? What if? So why not take another condition, like what if the first value of yours is a thunderhead? So you cannot be standing on a thunderhead, right? Because that's what you need to avoid. And to avoid it, what we'll be doing is we'll be giving an else condition, like an else to this if, that if array I equal to 0, well and good, and if it's not, if the first value is index value is not 0, so else what will happen is we'll just increment it. Okay, we'll just increment it. If the value on 0 is a thunderhead, so maybe on 1 where it can actually stand and it can actually start its loop is 1, so if it's a cumulus it can start, and according to this question, this game will always win and it will never lose. So in order for it to win, it will never have a consecutive thunderhead, that is, it won't have consecutive 1 value. Okay, so after this, what we'll be doing is, this is it, and we'll be giving an output. This is how where it ends, this loop ends, and we'll be giving the C out. We'll be printing out the value. It's minimum. Okay, minimum, and this is end L. Am I forgetting something? I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not. I guess I'm not. Okay, now we'll be returning 0 because that's what we do, right, in int main, because if it's int, I'll be returning 0. If it's a void, you'll be returning also 0. You don't need to return anything in void actually. Yeah, so it's also equals to 0. So this is how it's happening. So if you all have understood this code that I have actually made it, I've tried to write it in a very easy way so that anybody who watches this code, who's watching this code in my video, is actually getting the logic that I'm trying to develop. It's sometimes it's difficult, guys, to actually bring out the logic, because until unless you don't work in a pen and paper, you need to work along with me, right? If you need to work with your pen and paper, and you just need to carry out the dry run and just check that how it's happening, how every step that you're jumping or you're doing anything, how is it happening and everything. So let's run this code. I hope it's passing my test case, or maybe the cases. Yeah, it has passed my 2 test cases, and let's submit. Let's check. It did pass all my test cases. Now that's congratulations to me as well as you. Okay, so this is it. This is a good question, kind of tricky a little. Many people does a mistake, like they do not like, they always make it n. So if it is n, you'll be getting an error. Okay, it will be throwing an error. It won't be passing some of your test cases because, as I said, if you are already standing on your n, or maybe on your n minus 1 index value, so what happens? It'll again make a loop, and when it makes a loop, you cannot jump, two step, uh, because your array has a limitation. So that will throw you a logic error, I would say, because it won't be passing some of your test cases. And so this is it. I hope you liked the video. Okay, if you did, please give it a thumbs up and comment down in the comment section. And any kind of inquiries, you can also write it down there. And till then, stay happy, stay positive, and keep coding. Keep coding, and bye bye.